Warning, playing FPL is highly addictive. It may cause stress, a loss of free time, a resentment towards friends or colleagues, and a dislike to football in general. Please, FPL responsibly.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fixture Watch, the series that uses the official FPL fixture difficulty ratings to determine which teams have a good or bad run of fixtures over the next 5 game weeks. Sitting at the very top of the FDR table is Chelsea, who, having now gotten their game against Liverpool out of the way, now face what looks to be a very kind run of fixtures. Chelsea face Brighton, Southampton, Newcastle, Burnley and Watford in the next 5, and notably, all 5 games have been given a difficulty rating of 2 according to FPL. This lovely sea of green fixtures makes Lampard's men very appealing from an FPL perspective, and it could be wise to at least target bringing one of them into your squad. The good news with Chelsea is also their superb value, with Abraham at just 7.4 million currently the highest priced player, so they're fairly easy options to squeeze into our teams. It's Abraham and Mason Mount that look to be the best options going forward, but at just 4.5 million, Tomori is a very cheap way into their defence. Granted, Chelsea have yet to keep a clean sheet this season, so it's a hard sell to buy any Chelsea defender currently. But with their fixtures now improving, you could argue there's a better chance of some shutouts in the next few weeks. And at a measly 4.5 million, it's not exactly an expensive gamble to take. One to consider if you're looking to spread more of your funds into attack. Also sitting towards the top of the FDR table is Arsenal, who, following an unpredictable trip to Old Trafford in Gameweek 7, then boast an incredible run of good long-term fixtures. After facing United, the Gunners play 3 of their following 4 games at the Emirates, hosting Bournemouth, Crystal Palace and Wolves, with an away trip to Sheffield United in between. Some decent fixtures there on paper. Notably, between game weeks 8 and 16, the Gunners avoid any of last year's top 6, so if you are looking to bring in the likes of Aubameyang, you can do so knowing his fixtures look great for the long term now. The only issue with Arsenal is their lack of genuine FPL options throughout the squad, with the Gabonese striker the only player looking a wise purchase at the moment. Their record signing Nicolas Pepe did get off the mark in game week 6, with Aubameyang giving him the penalty to boost his confidence. So if he can start finding his shooting boots, he could become a decent punt given Arsenal's kind run of games. I'm also keen to see what impact Kieran Tierney can have once he comes back to full fitness. The third team right towards the top of the FDR table is champions Man City, who are generally great options regardless of their fixture, but it's their next 5 games that look particularly mouthwatering. The emphatic Man City face Everton in their next game, and with the Toffees just coming off the back of 2 straight defeats to Bournemouth and Sheffield United, there seems to be no better time to play them. Currently, FPL have a trip to Goodison down as a difficulty rating of 4, which I expect they'll update very soon. However, it's also the run of games following Everton that look even better, with Wolves, Villa and Southampton all to play at home in the near future. This means the likes of Aguero, Sterling and De Bruyne are still no-brainers for our squads, but the jury's still out on which 2 to pick if you're not tripling up. Aguero and De Bruyne appear to look the more reliable options as things stand, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Raheem Sterling punish those who sell him, especially now that he's had his rest against Watford. As for their defence, it's Otamendi who's looking to be a decent shout from their back line. With Laporte and John Stones currently out injured, Otamendi is arguably the only safe defender from Pep's rotation, and as proved in game week 6, he is a goal threat, getting on the score sheet and already producing the most shots inside the box of any defender this season. Another side with very good looking fixtures is Leicester City, who face Newcastle, Burnley, Southampton and Palace in 4 of the next 5. And despite them having a trip to Anfield in game week 8, it's their long-term fixtures that look especially appealing. In the Foxes' next 11 game weeks, 9 of them have been given a difficulty rating of 2 by FPL. The only 2 games that haven't are the Liverpool fixture and then Arsenal at home in game week 12, and we know how the Gunners love to concede goals on the road, so this too is a very decent fixture for Leicester. Attacking wise, it's James Maddison and Jamie Vardy who appear to be their most reliable FPL options as things stand, and given their excellent run of fixtures all the way up until game week 18, they do look like players you could potentially bring in to set and forget for a while. Defensively, it's Turkish centre-back Soyuncu who's proving to be quite popular, because at just 4.5 million, he is the budget way into Leicester's defence. However, having scored in game week 6 and often producing attacking returns last season, is Ricardo Pereira now an option to consider? it's unfortunate that he's been overpriced at $6 million this season, especially with Leicester not being very reliable for clean sheets. But could he be a like-for-like replacement for Luca Digne at Everton, a player that some managers are starting to lose patience with? Other teams with fairly decent fixtures in the next 5 weeks include Burnley, Norwich and West Ham, and I think Spurs also deserve a mention because their next 3 games in particular still look very favourable. So let's now move towards the bottom of the FDR table and see which teams have a much more difficult run of games. And if you find the Fixture Watch helpful, be sure to leave a like on the video and get subscribed to FPL TV. You can also hit the notification bell so you always know when a new video goes live. With a difficulty rating of 19, and therefore sitting far beyond any other team at the wrong end of the FDR table, is Southampton. The Saints face away trips to Spurs, Wolves and Man City in the next 5 weeks, with their only 2 home games coming against Chelsea and Leicester, so a pretty torrid run on paper. Currently, and perhaps surprisingly, Jan Vestergaard finds himself as the 3rd highest point-scoring FPL defender this season. This has seen his ownership rise significantly in recent weeks, and has earned him a further 45,000 owners heading into Gameweek 7. With a very difficult run of games coming up though, you'd have to argue that Southampton could struggle for clean sheets in these ones, and therefore perhaps Vestergaard isn't the most sensible of options right now, even though he is fairly budget friendly. Another team still towards the bottom of the FDR table is Manchester United, who currently have neither form nor fixtures on their side. United face Arsenal, Norwich and Bournemouth in 3 of their next 5 games, 3 teams that have already conceded over 10 goals each this season. So from an attacking perspective, certainly not bad fixtures. The issue is though that given United's injuries at the moment, it's hard to know which players can take advantage against these leaky sides. Who knows, at a budget 4.5 million, perhaps Mason Greenwood could get himself a run of games, one to keep an eye on. Interestingly, the 3 highest owned players from United are all defensive picks, with Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and David De Gea the most popular amongst FPL managers. And looking at the upcoming fixtures, it does beg the question of whether spending 5.5 million on these options is really worth it. Granted, they definitely proved me wrong in Gameweek 5 when they kept that clean sheet at home to Leicester, so I'm certainly not saying you have to ditch United defenders, but just keep their difficult run of upcoming fixtures in mind, because over the next 5 game weeks, that costly 5.5 million could perhaps be better spent elsewhere. Another side still cursed with difficult fixtures is Newcastle, who have now featured in every episode of the Fixture Watch so far this season, always with a tough run of games. This is due to the Magpies having been given a torrid run of games to start this season, playing Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, United and Leicester in 6 of their opening 9 games. What I have liked about Newcastle so far this season is that they've only conceded 8 goals, which isn't bad from 6 games when considering their price point. They've also managed 2 clean sheets, and due to their style of play, they're a team that generally set up to defend rather than playing all-out attack, which is always preferable when you're looking for that clean sheet potential. So, when things start to ease up for the Magpies, dare I say they might just become decent budget defensive options. In the next 3 game weeks, Newcastle have away trips to Leicester and Chelsea, so it's still not a good time to be considering them by the looks. However, things do start to improve for them from game week 10 onwards, and maybe then they could turn out to be potentially handy budget picks. Other teams towards the bottom of the FDR table include a goal-shy Crystal Palace and also Aston Villa, whose bad fixtures really start to kick in from game week 10 onwards, and with Man City and Liverpool then in back-to-back games, perhaps that'll be a good time to jump off their options. The last team I'd like to mention in this episode is Everton, who, despite not being right towards the bottom of the FDR table, do face Man City and Spurs in the next 5, which doesn't look appealing given the current form they're in. The Toffees have only managed 5 goals this season, a shocking return, especially considering the favourable fixtures they had to open the season and when you realise that 3 of their 5 goals all came in one game against Wolves. This means that even though patience could be a virtue, options like Sigurdsson and Richarlison simply aren't giving a return on investment, with both priced over 7.5 million. It could therefore be time to consider moving them on if you haven't already. The big dilemma faced for many managers now is whether to keep or sell Luca Digne, and ultimately that's up to you. The fixtures do look tricky, and clean sheets seem to have dried up for Everton, making his £6.2 million price tag seem more expensive by the minute, especially after that blank at home to Sheffield United. If you are looking for reasons to keep the French fullback, then it's worth noting that Burnley away in Gameweek 8 was the fixture that he bagged 2 goals in last season, so some good history there. He's also second amongst defenders for chances created, but the problem there is that all counts for nothing if Everton's out-of-form forwards can't finish them off. Luca Digne is a player I really wanted to stick by for the long term, but that's definitely challenging with a rampant Manchester City up next. So that wraps up this episode of the Fixture Watch. Hopefully you found it helpful, and if so, be sure to drop a like on the video and get subscribed to FPL TV. I'll be back very soon with more videos for Game Week 7, so until then, FPL responsibly and I'll catch you all very soon.